Hi, everyone. This podcast is unrelatable, and today we're going to talk about how I got my perfect jeans.
Oh, thank God that's what we're talking about.
So, this is my mom who needs to put the microphone up to her face a little bit, even though she works in entertainment. She probably know that at this point. And I thought it would be extremely essential to have the one person in my life that hears from me at least every 30 minutes around the clock.
Truth.
To be on the podcast and, you know, potentially not make fun of me on camera, but just discuss the fact that I came out of her womb and I am her really annoying little counterpart that doesn't seem to shut up ever.
And my best friend.
And her best friend. But I've talked about my mom a fair share on this podcast already, and
They're all good things.
Have not embarrassed you. There was no bad stuff. You know, a lot of the person that I am today kind of comes from where obviously I grew up and how I grew up and the influences around me, and a lot of that I would credit to my mother. So I obviously want people to meet her and know her, because without knowing her, you won't know who the fuck I am. So this is my mom.
Are we allowed to swear on this podcast?
Now we are.
Okay.
It's my podcast, so we can do whatever we want. So yeah, also I make the rules here, which means that you're technically listening to me.
Which means nothing's changed since the day you were born.
It's so funny. But yeah, so obviously my mother is a very hardworking woman, and she is self-made, and she's a badass, and it is... Yeah, I can't really go a day without bragging about my mother for what she does, even though she still doesn't believe me, that I continuously brag and am very proud of her for all of her accomplishments, and one day would like to be like her. So I know you don't believe me when I say that.
No,
But
I think you already are like me and far more accomplished.
that's so nice. I actually haven't really done much yet.
Yes,
but
you have. Yes, you have.
Thank you.
You have outrun death, which is something I have not done yet.
That's also true, I have.
So.
Even though I have terrible crippling OCD and make sure that she's alive every morning, lets me know that she's made it through the night.
That's
safely.
a new one.
That's a new thing we do. Yeah, I wanted you to kind of just talk about like how you manage everything and how you're able to run a company in an industry that's kind of predominantly run by men, and how you kind of walk into an office every morning in a predominantly male-dominated industry, prepared to run the business that day, come home, deal with a daughter that will not shut up, deal with 6 animals, a extremely unemotional / sometimes emotional husband, a son that is at college and complaining about the fact that he has to eat Subway every day.
Is he eating Subway again every day?
No, I just said that for a fact. And still manages to wake up at 5 a.m. to go work out, like 3 workout class. Yeah, it just is insane. I don't understand it. But yeah, how do you do it, basically?
Well, first of all, let's start with you. Okay. All right. You are a joy. You're a little sparkling human being, and you always have been. And you, in spite of the fact that you were not interested at all in being born when, in fact, it was time for you to be born, you came out with like little muscles all around. You were like solid muscle.
Oh my God. Just can you show your biceps really quick, please? Solid. This is a woman that works out every day, in case anyone was wondering, and is also looks 40 years old, and let me tell you, she's not. But anyways,
she's sweet. I'm an old lady, but right now
she also has no perception of what she looks like.
Anyway, it's fine. So you were born. You were so funny and so. I think the word is mischievous, and but always joyous and full of life. And then of course I blame myself for your neuroses, because of that time Jack barfed 7 times in the car and it made you so nervous.
Yeah.
And then it was all downhill from there.
Just for context, we were in the car on the way to La Jolla on a holiday weekend, and if you don't know where La Jolla is, it's in San Diego.
That's where I grew up.
Where my mother grew up. We drove from Los Angeles to San Diego in like 4 hours of traffic in a Yukon, 3 rows. Keep that in mind for later. And my little brother, Jack, ate some bad yogurt, courtesy of my father, which I'll never forgive him for. And little Jack booted everywhere the entire drive. And I was trapped in a car for 4 hours watching this kid puke. And I had
me flipping out. That's what flipped them out, was me flipping out, because we were trapped in the car. I didn't know what was wrong with him. He was projectile vomiting.
Into my dad's hand, I remember.
Okay, I don't remember that. But what I do remember is there was a nanny with us, some sort of weekend nanny who was useless. We were all frayed, frazzled, and nerve rattled.
Oh my God, I'm literally like PTSDing, recalling every
from
moment.
that point on, Caroline would not get in the car with her brother.
Caroline-Vein is a control freak since day one, and I also was a control freak before that, but this caused me to have a fear of throw up, basically.
Yeah, that was one thing. And remember once you threw up and you were like, Dad, make it stop.
Yeah, I told him to call 911. I remember that because I ate too much.
Of our house,
I ate too much edamame. It was edamame.
Was that it? All right. Okay.
Yeah.
As a control freak, she also was like, I know, even though you did triathlons and could make it through that whole thing, the swim, the bike, the run, get a medal, yay, happy as a clam, go eat some pasta. 4.5 hours of trying to push Caroline out, which finally she did come out. She was like not buying what we were selling that day. She was like, I'm not feeling like I want to come out. But alas, she did. So that was the good news.
And then I'd smile and bite your boob.
Anyway, okay, so she is adorable, and I'm really proud of her, and that's the most important thing.
Thank you.
She, in spite of herself, she wanted to get into the music business. She started making music that's really good. Then she got all these jobs in music where she did a great job. She has extraordinary taste in music and frankly in film, and has been offered job after job after job, and I'm just really, really proud of her.
And you know what?
She is a force of nature. I have a
slight problem where I feel like I need to do everything myself because I watched you do everything yourself, and so I make sure everyone knows not to couple me in as being a Nepo baby, even though kind of by nature I am.
You're not really, because I'm not in the music business.
That's true.
Right.
But yeah, I think the biggest thing for me is wanting to be able to do things myself, even though I was given this foundation by my parents, and being able to have stuff to work off of. I also want to be able to like walk in and be able to like do my thing. And I think in recent months there have been a few projects that I've wanted to supervise, and I've said like, just loop me in and I'll take it from there, or like let me just reach out to them. And you're like, no, like,
right.
Because I am kind of like, I don't want you to say anything or do anything. Like, I just want to like make it my own thing and see if I can do it myself.
Right.
Otherwise I wouldn't feel good about it. I'd be like, cool, I'm here, but
you don't have any, you give, as the young folk say, zero fucks about what people think, and just will do whatever you feel like doing with impunity. So if you want something, you just go right after it, and that's really impressive, I think, because it's not easy to do that.
No, it's not. It's pretty exhausting.
And your situation is a little bit different than mine, because I really didn't have a choice, because I didn't have the two parents and the white picket fence, and it was like I was either gonna make it or that was gonna be it. So I had to sort of try to figure out how I was gonna be able to, survive, essentially.
Did you always know you wanted to be in entertainment and
no.
creating things?
No. And I didn't get into the entertainment industry thinking, oh, I love animation. I can't wait to start a company that represents the largest base of animation talent in the world. That was not at all what I was thinking.
Yeah.
When I left Merrill Lynch and went to work at William Morris, I was dumb enough to think, and by the way, this is where I met your dad, Jonathan.
Jackson Prince, the director of the podcast, and his dad and my mom have been friends forever, and Jackson and I have now joined forces and do our own little things, and Jackson is part of the reason why we have this podcast. So we love Jackson.
We do love Jackson. He's so cute. Anyway,
oh my God.
So the bottom line is that I wanted, because I've always been involved in sports.
What do you mean?
I've always been
an athlete.
I was an athlete. I was a competitive swimmer.
Unlike me, but yeah.
So I always wanted to, like, I thought, oh, well, I think this would be fun. I'll become like Cameron Diaz in any given Sunday, and at some point I'll own my own sports team, and that's what I'm going to do. I can envision myself in the owner's box or whatever, or even just running a team. I didn't know what it was, but that's what I wanted to do. And so I wanted to represent athletes. And I thought, well, no one else is doing that. I'll do that. So I went to William Morris thinking they're going to think I'm so smart and I'm going to get to do this. And at that time, they really, like, that wasn't like a business that they were entirely focused on. But one thing they were definitely focused on was not supporting women up through the ranks. There were like a couple of people like Sue Mangers and who had become successful women in entertainment in the representation field. I wasn't, in as much as I was in representation at that time, I really wanted to sort of figure out where is there a niche that I can try to control.
That's like the white space. You were looking for the thing that wasn't done yet.
Right.
That's advice that I've gotten, like, from every woman I've talked to.
Right.
That's super interesting.
So, anyway, bottom line is I ended up in the animation business through a series of interesting sort of events.
Okay.
And it was like the best thing that ever happened to me, which is why you have to sort of just like get up every day and not have expectations. You can set your intention for like a great day, but at the end of the day, like, stuff is going to happen that you just don't expect to happen. People are going to show up in your life that you didn't expect would show up in your life. And that's what happened with me in the animation business. So I feel really lucky that all of those things came together. And as I learned more about entertainment and saw my sort of sports dreams fading off into the distance, I realized that there were all these different avenues that I could go down. So the Gotham, an outgrowth of another business called Atlas Management that I sort of basically inherited, became the place to go for animation talent. And then from there we grew into, representing publishers and authors and illustrators, Tony D being our very first client.
We love Tony.
Yeah, he's the best. And so that was amazing for us because it also sort of propelled us into the producing arena.
So did you have any idea you'd end up being a movie producer?
No, but I wanted to become a movie producer. And one of the things that you and I have in common is when somebody says to me, oh, you're never going to be able to do that. I'm like, oh, really? Really?
Yeah.
Is that what you think? You think I'm never going to be able to do that? I think you're wrong. And I remember that I was having a conversation with, you had tiny little soft hands. I was having a conversation with an agent at the time who was at one of the very big agencies. And I remember he called about something. And he said to me, we're blankety blankety blank, the name of the agency. And we're in the major motion picture business. You're in the animation business. And I remember thinking, okay, this is a call to arms. And I was like, all right, well, I guess I'll just have to show you. So now we're, 15 movies deep into producing and, about to start this amazing project with this extraordinary filmmaker, Scott Cooper.
Bruce Springsteen! I dressed for the occasion.
Waiting on a Sunny Day.
This was my favorite song ever when I was a little kid. Waiting on a Sunny Day.
Right, but that
from this
was
album.
No,
Born
it's
in
not.
the USA.
No, it's not from that album.
Okay, fuck it, whatever.
Anyway,
I should know that. Sorry, Dad.
Bruce Springsteen.
Bruce Springsteen.
Yeah, Bruce Springsteen. Anyway, so I'm always up for a challenge. Yeah.
I think the biggest thing for me now is like I felt like I didn't have as much like adversity to overcome as you did growing up, and like I always felt like I wanted to give myself more. Like that's part of the reason why I was always so insecure about like people were so much nicer to me when I said who my mom was. If I wanted to like meet someone or have a Q&A or whatever, like if my old boss introduced me to someone, I'd be like, yeah, like my mom runs Gotham, and they're like, oh, I know Gotham, or like my dad does this, oh, I know of him, blah blah blah. And I'm like, oh, so now you're being nicer to me because now you know where I come from, and like, cool, that's great, now you're actually gonna listen to what I have to say. But I was always very insecure about like, you know, I need to overcome and jump through more hoops so that I can kind of have my own foundation, that people will look at me and be like, oh, cool, like that's Caroline Vein,
right?
As in just Caroline Vein,
right?
You know. And I know the thing for me, and actually Sasha and I talked about this, Fox, in the episode that I did with her, about the fact that like we just need to embrace where we come from. And I think for me especially, like I don't have as much, you know, as other kids that kind of have parents in the business and stuff. I feel like you guys have done a really good job of like making me really understand like what to be thankful for, and like what I'm meant to work for myself, you know. Like I definitely think like I'm very proud of myself because a lot of the things that like I've just done, like getting a credit on a big movie and all these things, like I like almost like wanted, I told you kind of like when it came to fruition, like when I actually got what are you looking at, the ring that you want to wear? No. Okay. No. Like the film I got a credit on and all these things, like I feel like I'm like really like hustling and like trying to get these people to like respect me for me. But at the same time, I'm 24 years old, and like I don't have so much behind me to like present to them. It's like take the risk, basically.
Right.
So like right now I'm in a position where I'm like, I want people to take a risk on me, and how can I convince them to do that?
Right. But you're pretty good at doing that.
I am. I should have been a lawyer.
Uh-huh. Well, you can always go back to law school.
I'm not doing that. I'm not going back to school. No, I'm kidding. Maybe one day. Who knows? But yeah, I definitely think like knowing and kind of over the years like learning those things about you, it's given me a new perspective on like me and like how I can kind of embrace what I already have, but also now I've been actually given real life experiences, like losing my nanny when I was 11 years old, who was like a grandma and like lived with us and was like literally like a second mom to me, and like Brittany, who was like a big sister to me, losing her when I was 14 years old, and like going through, again, like looking back, I was like, oh, I've actually been through real life experiences. Like I'm not, just because I have this kind of foundation and a home and a roof over my head and I have all these things and family and friends to be thankful for, like, yeah, I have experienced my own form of trauma, and like then I was, you know, genuinely put in a position where I was like, okay, now you're gonna have to really go through something. Right. And like
here comes the real challenge.
Yeah. So yeah. I think like for me, I've been kind of given many experiences to like rise up to the occasion, and I definitely feel like even though it wasn't the same as like I have a single mom and I have to make my way out of this town and go to school across the country, and then my dad's not going to pay for it, so now I have to go to UCLA and did it, and all these things that you went through. I was given a great education. I went to private school my whole life. I had my own things going to private school and trying to make friends and be my own person, but like at the end of the day, like I feel like I kind of had my own version of that, and like really trying to find my own, and still am, obviously.
Right. Like we always have like expectations going into things. That's why it's sort of like you should just wake up and say like, just bring it on. Whatever happens, I'm ready for it.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like my whole life though I've been trying to control everything and like trying to create the narrative the way that I want to, and I think this past year I've finally like let go of the like outside approval and kind of like really like understanding that the only thing I can genuinely change is me. So I think like the when I first kind of started realizing that, after I went through my treatments and started working again and had like a real kind of like on the ground, like in an office, and like having to like really be a normal human being again, I basically realized like, oh, okay, like the only thing that you can change about today is you. Like, I'm going to have to get up and make the best out of it. Someone over there can, you know, have whatever happening to them, or there could be an earthquake, or the building could blow up, or whatever could happen today, but like I just the one thing that I can genuinely control is myself. Because I literally like pretty sure, actually I'm not pretty sure, I know for a fact I went to therapy when I was 11 years old after my brother barfed in the car 5 years prior to start my my SSRIs when I was like 11, because I was genuinely terrified about natural disasters at 11 years old.
Right.
Because that was something I couldn't control, and I think every fear I've ever had has stemmed from control and lack of control.
Yep. And now at this point at 24, I think you probably have learned that you don't have any, so
yeah.
you just have to let go.
Let go and let God. That's what you always say.
Yeah.
But aside from that, obviously, I think all the women on our female mother's side of the family are extremely neurotic in our own ways, which is pretty good because there's people we all can talk to each other about it. You know?
Jack said to me,
very sensitive, very neurotic.
Right. Jack thinks I'm completely bonkers.
I know. My little brother hides us when his friends have come over to the house. Like, he tells us we can't. Like, remember that one time we had a friend come over to your house?
Yeah.
And he said we needed to stay in your room.
Yeah, and I also wasn't allowed to go to any of his games.
And he won't put us on, like, social media or anything because he doesn't want his friends. Like, if I comment on his Instagram, like, he'll delete it because he doesn't want his friends to, like, go look at my stuff because he thinks I'm, like, a freak.
Yeah, me too.
Granted, we are.
Yeah. Yeah. Mom, why did you reply all?
How do you deal with, like, other women and being friends with other women? And, like, do you feel like there's this sense of, like, competitiveness? Because I feel like, honestly, my whole life, and I feel like this is very much like how, and I totally just, like, transitioned, but it's my ADD, which she also has, is, like, I feel like I wasn't used to you having, like, girly groups and clicking with the moms and, like, housewife, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And, like, I realized as I was growing up, I wasn't that either. And I'm still not. Like, you have all these great individual friends, and so do I.
Right.
But how did that happen? And, you went to girls' school for college by choice.
Those are, like, still my probably closest friends.
So how do you meet friends and find friends and feel this, like, kind of non-competitive nature with other women?
It's interesting because I always say to people, like, and this applies to business really more than anything, it's not the men that aren't going to help you. It's really the women. They're the ones that are going to really, honestly. And that's not to say that I don't work in a very male-dominated business where you are treated differently, you are looked at differently, and I've had many experiences where somebody would rather have the male, the man involved because of whatever reason. Mm-hmm. I don't know what it is. It's some sort of deep-seated psychological predisposition to the weaker sex or something. So not to say that you're not, like, feminism all the way, but, like, it's true, No, absolutely, but I'm just saying that's not my interpretation, because here's what I believe. I believe women are much smarter than men because they
fuck it up.
Here's why. Because women not only know what the men are up to, but they also know what the other women are doing. So
women are very intuitive and very, like, thinking 3 steps ahead always.
Right. The other thing is that women, and I don't know that a lot of women actually consider this, but I believe this to be true. I believe that the women are not necessarily, like, when you get all dolled up or whatever, they're not necessarily doing it for the guy. They're doing it because of what are the other women going to think of what I'm wearing?
Yeah.
Do I have the right jewelry? Do I have the right watch?
Did you watch Palm Royale?
No.
That's literally what that show's about. It's so good. It's like Kristen Wiig is this, like, former, like, show, what is it called? Like a pageant queen. Uh-huh. And she marries a pilot who has the last name of, like, one of, like, the biggest Delacourt family of Palm Beach. And she moves to Palm Beach and hops over the fence of the Palm Royale, which is the country club.
Right.
And befriends from all in the newspaper, because they talk about all the the women in the town. Like, she knows who they all are.
Right.
And she befriends all of them, and then they find out she's a fraud.
Right.
But it's, like, so about that. And, like, knowing
right.
she doesn't care about her husband. She doesn't care about...
She just
she's
wants to
sneaking
be
into her...
accepted.
Yeah, she just wants those women to look at her like... She has the big house. She has the car. She has the dress. She's stealing her husband's rich relative who's in a coma, all of her jewelry, like pawning it off to go buy the dress of the season.
Right.
Like using that name, like to milk the name. And the husband's like an airline pilot and they live in a motel.
That's so good.
And it's like so relative and real compared to like the situations that you just see on a daily basis. And I think like for me, like the biggest thing that I also recognized is like I've really never wanted, of course, like society and like social media and everything like pushes you to like want to have the makeup and the hair products and all the things that everyone else has, but like the more I've kind of grown up, the more I've been like, I don't want that shirt because I'm going to go to so-and-so's party and everyone's going to be wearing that same shirt.
Right.
Or I don't want that bag because, first of all, it's overly expensive and next season no one's going to want that bag.
Right.
You know? I'm like, let's just get the cool stuff that, like, is timeless, that's, like, great.
Or that you do like.
That I like.
Right.
Not that she likes or she likes, but I like.
Right.
And I think I've, like, kind of really started to find, like, my style and like my voice and my personality, which like I've also recognized like women that are your age,
Boo Ringstein,
that women your age, and like no offense, like, but I've like seen some of like these women, like they don't know who they are, and they're like they have the big house, they have the rich husband, they have their kids at the top schools, and I'm like, you have no clue who you are still. So like they've probably never thought about what do I like, what do I want to do, you know, like what's my purpose. It's just been this like kind of like one after the other, these are all the steps I have to take in order to get through this like life, even though it's not really supposed to be like that,
or to be included in the cool crowd, invited to the right parties, you know.
Yeah. And of course everyone wants to be like cared about and looked at. Like I'm obviously like have my insecurities and like want people to like respect me and invite me and blah blah blah, but at the same time I'm
you
like,
don't want to go.
I don't want to go anyways either, but I mean maybe I do, but it just depends.
Right. You would go if it was something that like would help you with your career, like if it was going to, remember that big DJ guy whose house you used to go to all the time for parties?
No.
Yes, in Malibu. He has a house in Malibu and
Point. Oh, yeah.
What's his name again?
Diplo.
Right. So, like, you'd be like, yeah, can that guy help me out? I'm going to go to that. Can you get me that? Like, that you would care about.
But, like, I had a goal going to that where I was like, I want to go talk to these people and I want them to listen to my music and I want to see if I can work with them and I want them to respect me. And all the while, you know, the truth is, like, you know, I would go to that party and I'd just be another 24-year-old girl wearing the outfit with the bag, with the attitude, with the da-da-da-da. They didn't care.
No.
And I'm like, oh, okay, like, going to the party and wearing the outfit and da-da-da, like, that's not going to do it for me. Like, I have to, like, make the moves and then those people will see.
So, I'm going to just say one other thing, though. For me, like when you guys were little kids and you were in school, like I was working and running a company and trying to build a company.
Not coming to the soccer practices.
No, I did actually. Trying
to
juggle all of that. And so I didn't have time to go and stand in the courtyard.
With the moms gossiping and talking.
The handbags.
Yeah.
Also, I've never really been like, I've always had... Like my friends, they're still the friends that I've had, and it doesn't matter if I don't see them.
And they all have auntie or uncle in front of their names at this point.
And if I don't see them, like I just went to my 40-year college reunion. We had the best time. It was the greatest thing. I felt so comfortable with those people. If I don't see them for another 10 years, which I will be seeing them next year because we're going to have another reunion, but I don't I don't need to constantly feel anchored to the planet by having other people, like, I don't need to
Except for me, obviously.
Right. I don't need to do that.
But you don't have a choice.
Right, but we're talking about friends.
Right.
So I don't have to do that. And the other thing is, it's not easy, like if you're a successful woman, to have other friends who are women who, unless they're fully self-actualized, you know what I mean?
I mean, the women that you're friends with are so fucking awesome. Like, Eden and I just did an episode talking about you and Sharona and your guys' friendship and how you guys became friends as adults, and like just the way that you guys would like see each other in the elevator, would be intimidated by each other, and like come to find out you guys are like so similar. And
she's hilarious.
You guys are like, you know, amazing friends and amazing women, and also have Eden and I, who are like both the, again, like neurotic, like emotional spawns of you guys.
Right.
Which we also talked about.
Really? But I don't remember that being in that, because I watched that episode.
Yeah, I didn't embarrass you or anything, because I didn't have anything bad to say.
Her being neurotic, but whatever, anyway. Yeah, so she's really nice. The truth is that, you know, you got to be enough for you before you can be...
Do you feel okay with yourself?
I do most of the time. It's challenging in the business that I'm in when you're judged on things that don't have anything to do with merit. They have to do with sex, you know, your sex, your gender, your body of work, not your abilities, but all of these other things.
It's kind of more superficial a bit.
Not so much superficial as it is biased. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I always say there are like two kinds of relationships. Business relationships, those are like dog eat dog, cutthroat, it's every man for himself. And personal relationships, and those relationships, you know, are where people run their rackets, you know.
Right.
Love, hate, guilt, credit, right, wrong, agreements, disagreements, like all those things that really, you know, come from like an real emotional connection to people. So in business, there's a benefit to being slightly insecure because it keeps you on your toes.
Right. And that like kind of pouring the gas in the flame a little bit.
Well, also if you don't have a challenge, then it's not fun anymore.
Right.
You know?
And there never will be. I mean, I think with the business and also just in general being in LA, like, I do think that, and part of like my kind of like self journey this year specifically has been like, I really am trying to be genuinely happy with who I am. I know that there's not going to be 100%, but like really kind of trying to get over the humps of like the little things that I know bother me, to like really feel confident about myself, because I know that like as I get older, like these challenges will be easier for me if I know, you know, what's going on here, basically. Like I'm not going to feel like I need to,
right,
that I owe it to him or I
right,
owe it to her, but like I'm doing it for me, basically.
Right. I think that's smart.
I'm trying.
Uh-huh.
What is it like to have an unrelatable daughter?
I mean, unrelatable to who? Maybe other people, but not me, because I think I understand Caroline well enough to know that, I mean, she is always, like I always say, I have two speeds, off and full, meaning I'm either 100% in or I'm not at all. Mm-hmm. And Caroline is always on full. So she is, you know, I think for other people it can be challenging, because, and I remember when you were a little kid, you would like, you would want your way with people, or you'd want this or you'd want that, or, you know, and that can be challenging.
Or exhausting for other people, probably.
Right. The endless, like, Caroline, please do not FaceTime me at work during the day. I'm probably not going to answer. Okay, I won't until 3 minutes from now when I do that. So you're
still stands true, obviously.
Right, it does. You're very like, you know, in your own little lane of like moving forward. It's like Caroline, Battleship Caroline. It's going to take a lot of sea, miles and miles and miles of sea to turn her around.
Yeah.
Which is the truth about a battleship. You can't just turn the thing. It takes forever to get it to turn. I mean, hours to turn a battleship around, and that's sort of what you're like. But that can be very beneficial, and I think that you have a propensity towards fear, which can also be a good thing because that keeps you on your toes, but you're actually very strong and powerful. You just need reassurance about that. But I don't think that makes you unrelatable. I think it makes you very relatable to people who are willing to be honest about who they are and what their shortcomings are. I think, you know what I mean?
Okay, so this podcast is relatable. Just kidding. The kind of conversation we're having right now is definitely, like, rare for us to have, you know? Like, these topics, like, I feel like it's kind of just known, but, like...
Yeah, I wish that you would make more time for me, but you're very busy.
That's so fucked up. I talk to you all day, every day.
You're calling, you're like, my cat, oh my God, my
People are gonna think I'm like a bad kid. That's so fucked up. I bother you to a point where you tell me to stop. You tell me that you want to be alone. Mom, get off
Wait, hang on, sorry.
You literally tell me that you don't want to stop bugging you.
Did you see how she was just like, Mom.
You literally, I can't believe you just said you want me to make more time for you. That's so fucked up. I talk to you to the point every day where you tell me to stop bugging you.
You don't talk to me. You call up and go, look at my cats. That's not talking to me. That's just annoying. I have my own cat that's cute.
He was my cat. He was actually my cat.
That you left high and dry. Thank God, because he's my best friend and my husband.
Don't ever say that again. I make time for you. And you make time for me. Do you want me to make more time for you? Because I totally can.
Okay, can you get together on Sunday? We can eat at the club and then lay out.
Sure.
Okay, you really?
I'll bring my book.
Okay, because I have those bathing suits for you.
What do you do to relax?
She's like thinking, what else did I commit to already on
Nothing. I do have a meeting in the evening.
Okay.
Okay.
What do I do to relax?
What do you do
rarely
to relax?
Relaxed.
Same.
No, here's what I do.
I like take naps to try to calm myself down a lot. Though.
I know you're a big napper, and I can appreciate that. But
you taught me that too, by the way.
I know I don't take as many naps as I used to. There's something about getting older and not getting as good a night's sleep as one used to get. I'm warning you.
People are gonna think I'm so annoying after this episode.
No, they're not. They're not gonna think that. They're gonna think that's oh my God, my kid does the same thing.
I'm not talking about the moms. I'm talking about the children.
They're going to say, oh, my gosh, I act exactly like that. Look at that poor mom. The kid won't spend any time with her. Okay, anyway, here's the bottom line, Caroline. Here's what I do. I'm going to give you 3 guesses. What do you think I do to relax?
Sleep, workout.
Yes.
And the occasional gummy.
No. I stopped doing all of those because they make me too tired. Let's get back to this.
Napping, watching TV with Jasper.
I don't
working
really watch
out.
TV because I have
love
so many
watching
emails
TV.
and so much work and so much reading. And also I really like to listen to books on tape.
Okay, so you listen to books on tape.
But my top thing, which I would do every day, all day long, if I didn't work, would be to work out and maybe own some gym or spa.
Why don't you do that?
I'm actually,
can take over your company if you want.
Right now I'm busy.
I used to walk around my mom's office when I was going through my period of brat, but not brat summer, like the brat, like torching red flame brat. And would pretty sure supposedly through the grapevine say that one day this will be my company.
Right. You would walk through there saying you were 4. One day you'll all be working for me. And it was hilarious.
So Jackson just asked, my mom basically said that I'm either, there's an on and an off switch. I'm always on. She's either on or off. When I was going through my chemo treatments and my diagnosis, what was that like for you? That time where I was off. I don't think I was ever off.
He was saying, did you find a new gear?
Oh, did you find a new gear? Okay, clearly I didn't hear what he was saying.
Yeah,
it's fine.
So I'm really good in a clutch. So in the clutch. So like I was the one who had to call Caroline and tell her this. She reported my diagnosis when I was trying jeans on with Sonia in my kitchen. Which is interesting because if you consider the difference between Dad and I,
It is interesting, though, the difference between you being more emotional on a daily basis, but when it comes to emotions, you're much more hard. You're more hardened, like military-esque.
Right.
And Dad is very military-esque. And when I am very emotional, he becomes much more soft.
Right.
Which I've realized over the years.
Right.
Like, if I need a hug, or I'm like crying, he needs to be hugging me and making sure I feel better. And you are like, why are you crying? It's time to, like, you're good. Like, keep it moving.
Right.
Even though that doesn't mean you're not, like, always extremely supportive and we talk about everything and blah, blah, blah. But you're much more like, you're good.
Right.
We're not crying about
because
this.
if not, you go into like a spiral. That's the problem. So
so that's our self-soothing Caroline treatment.
Right. So I have to keep my if I come unglued, just like when Nana died. If I come unglued, you come unglued. So I don't know if there's sort of like sometimes when like a kid cries, then the other kid starts crying too. They feed off each other. It's a sympathetic thing. Mm-hmm. So you're very much intuitive, sensing kind of human being. So whatever's going on around you, you pick up on and take in. Like if that person's got a stubbed toe, then so do I. Is my toe okay? Or if that person got bit by a spider, then so will I. Or, you know what I mean? So that, to me...
makes for good storytelling.
Yeah, is an adaptation to keep you from flying off the planet. That's why I do that.
Keep me grounded.
Right. And also, I really am a wasp. And so that is keeping you always keep your, you keep it together. That's the way it is. That's what I grew up around.
Yeah.
So
it is very interesting though that you're just like so emotional, and then when I'm like genuinely like falling off the planet, you keep me down, and like Dad is so like militant.
Right.
But then when I'm like falling apart, he's like, "Oh, Caroline." Uh-huh. And I'm like, "Who is this person? I have to cry more. Holy shit. What the fuck?"
Right.
It's very, very interesting.
I know.
I've realized that over the years.
But like you've always been that way, so it makes it,
Yeah.
There's got to be a method to the way to operate around you. But the truth is that it works.
Does EGV care what people think?
No, I really don't. But here's what I actually do care about what they think about me in work situations, even though like I kind of don't care, but
that's
I do
true
care.
Like when I post like ass photos on my Instagram,
yeah, I get mad about that.
We don't do that.
I just want to be.
We don't do that.
I just want to be. I don't like to be disrespected at all in any way, shape, or form. I really cannot deal with it at all.
Yeah.
But the mom stuff, I don't care what other people think. I care what... Although I have to be honest with you, there were a lot of moms when my kids were little who were like, she's the worst. What's her kids? In the meantime, my kids were perfect. They were so good. And they would find any reason to try to like put us down and belittle us. Or by us, I mean me and my kids. But my kids... And by the way, Caroline... was challenging. Jack was just like the cutest kid on the planet. Caroline was challenging, but she wasn't a bad kid. She was super smart. She did really well in school.
The teachers liked me.
All the teachers liked her. We're still friends with her teachers. They were great kids, but the moms were like, just because I wasn't on the yard with them.
But you know what's very ironic is a lot of the girls at my high school were super nice to me because they thought you were the coolest and they wanted to be like you, which is insane. Like all those fucking girls.
The thing is, I'm not really cool. You made them think I was cool.
See, this is her rationalization. She's like, I'm actually not a size 0 even though I am, but I'm also a whale. And I'm like, that makes me feel great. Thanks,
a whale.
Mom. Actually, I don't look like I'm 45. I look like I'm 30. And I'm like, Mom, no, you say I don't look like I'm 45. I look like
I don't. These guys are like, she looks like she's 60. You just don't. Love me. Love is blind.
Oh
There's
God.
a thing called love is blind.
Everyone's shaking their heads because you are. No, it's insane. It's like you're pretty. You're successful. You have a good heart. You're a good human being. And I'm like, what the fuck? And I tell you those things. And I walk around gallivanting, like being like, I think my mom's so cool. I'm so proud of her. I want to be like her. And you like cannot believe it. So actually, I have one thing for you to do. Start believing the things about you.
Okay, I will. If you start
drinking water and going for walks and da-na-na-na-na-na.
All right.
Stop.
Da-na-na-na-na-na.
Thank you. Thank you guys for listening to my mother. I hope that she gave you some really good advice about handling yourself in this crazy world, being a badass mom, being a badass friend, being a badass individual. And I'm very proud of her. And I also slightly had a difficult time accepting all the nice things you said about me because I need to start believing them too. Yeah. We have a lot of work to do.
Yes, we do. Let's go on a nice walk.
No.
Bad date, can't relate, everything is going great. Makeup on my mirror. Life sucks, all shucks, I feel like